I am a professional cuddler, and my name is Faye, and I am joined by...
I'm Softcuddleb on Cuddle Comfort, and my name is Tristan.
Hi. So I wanted to start a YouTube channel interviewing cuddlers and of all different experiences. So tell me a little bit about your experiences so far. Like, how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so I have been doing cuddle work off and on over the last about 2 years. I started out doing cuddling and lazy yoga and movement work, and then focused more on intimacy coaching and relationship coaching. And I've kind of come back to it recently just because I'm discovering that some people don't want necessarily like the coaching and teaching elements. They just want to relax and cuddle. They don't want to get into all the stuff that I tend to like to get into. So
I've had the same experience. Like sometimes, sometimes I'll ask people. I'm like, "Hey, so like, can I like ask you about this and that? Because I want to write a book." And then they're like, "I don't want to think."
Right? Yeah, and that's totally valid. You know.
Whoops. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What kind of things would you like to talk about today?
Well, I tend to always want to talk about attachment theory and kind of the science behind why we all crave touch so much and things like that. Those are things that I'm just always thinking about and seems really relevant to cuddling work.
I agree. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, if I know nothing about it, please inform me. What have you found?
Yeah, well, attachment theory is basically this idea or this whole body of work and study that researchers are looking at about our early relationships with our caregivers. Actually starts in utero. So the experience that we have as a baby inside our mother's tummies up until the age of 2, there's a lot of study around that particular time in a person's early life and the effects of what's going on in their environment, the health of their mother, how their mom's doing, all those things while the baby's inside her tummy affect that developing baby. And then also her interaction with the baby from the time they're born on up until the age of 2. That's a very critical time for a young person and how they develop into their relationships in life.
So if they don't get a lot of touch, what does that mean?
Causes all kinds of problems because we're hardwired to receive and need that touch. So we don't get enough of the right kind of touch from like a calm, grounded, resourced mother.
Yeah.
That can cause a lot of mental health problems later in life, a lot of physical health problems, a lot of difficulties in relationships. Either tends to kind of swing one of 2 ways, either needing to be too close all the time and really, needing it all the time, or just wanting nothing to do with people, or having like almost kind of a disorganized attachment style where you want to be close but you don't know how, kind of a thing. So it can create all different kinds of attachment styles that we all kind of develop into.
With the clients that you've seen, how is that manifested in your cuddle sessions? Like, do you see it? Like, how does that, do you cater to them a specific way when you notice there's a little more to it, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. I have a recent client who actually came to me for intimacy coaching, and now we're going more towards cuddling work because of her particular trauma history where she didn't have a lot of like consistent, close touch and nurturing from her mom. And so there's a lot of trauma around that, and there's more to it than that, but it kind of goes pretty deep. So we've had to like back way up.
Yeah.
Touch is like a lot for her to take. So we had to do a lot of boundary work before we even touched at all, and kind of teaching her that it was okay to say no, and like how she could push away from me if she needed to, or she could bring me close if she needed to. So we did a lot of coaching around that. And just me being like constantly checking in, like, what's your body telling you about this right now? Does it feel safe or does it not? Do we need to stop?
Is that like when you tense up or loosen when you're like comfortable, just kind of relaxing? Relaxing into each other,
So much can come up. Like her particular survivor response is to freeze. So I'll kind of notice her body freeze.
Yeah.
Other people contract and get really tight. Other people just kind of fade and dissociate and kind of leave their body.
So much fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've encountered that too, right? All different kinds of ways that people react.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to me, I've experienced the fight, flight, freeze. Mine tends to be freeze, and it's like a brain overload, and I just, so that's caused me my own personal issues in the past. And so I notice sometimes with clients it happens where they're just like, you know, I had a client who hadn't been touched in several years by anybody, and he was like shaking when I was holding him, and it was like heartbreaking. It was like, aw. His partner OD'd and had just not been connected with anybody, and that was just heartbreaking. And I felt like I was able to be there for them, and I really hope they're doing okay now. But I think I was that first person, and I mean, I remember my first experience of feeling so detached from people physically, because I was dating someone long distance, and we didn't see each other like ever. And I don't know if we had broken up or we had just broken up, or it was around that time, maybe we were about to, and just someone came up and just like touched me on the shoulder, and I felt electricity. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, I felt that whole connection, and it was just like compassion. And I didn't know that could happen until that moment. I was like, whoa. So like, I think that's another reason why I love cuddling anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, everybody has a different relationship to it. For you, that felt really good. Another person might be like, oh my God, why did somebody just touch me, right?
Yeah.
So I pay a lot of attention to that. Like, is this person kind of pulling away? Are they leaning in? Are they calm? Like, I'm a body reader.
So how do you approach the topic of consent with your clients, or like, do you educate, or how do you breach that subject with people?
I'm a big consent nerd, so yes.
Consent is sexy.
Yes. So I like look at a couple of different models of consent, and I kind of gauge somebody's willingness or like desire to sit down and talk about that for 20 minutes before we start cuddling, based on kind of like how they're jiving with me, just kind of going over the basics. And then I might go in deeper with people if they're interested and want to talk more about that. Because like, there's the basics of consent, like, you know, you need to ask before you touch. Here are the areas that are okay to touch. Here's what's off limits, you know, just kind of those basic ground rules.
Yeah.
But then you can go so much deeper into, I like to talk to people a lot about like, just good or neutral feelings while we're cuddling isn't good enough. Like, let's find that perfection. What's that one more movement or one more leaning into or surrendering in to the body position you're in that would make it just like perfection? Because how many times do we just tolerate in a kind of an uncomfortable position, or maybe like our arms falling asleep?
I have a certain technique that I'm like, okay, your arm goes under my neck, like then it doesn't fall asleep as quickly. But then I'm like super extra paranoid. I'm like, do you need a pillow for your head?
So I like to do a lot of checking in with people if that seems helpful. Some people are kind of irritated by that.
Too much can be.
Too much can be too much.
Yeah.
You're like me, it's never too much, but and the other thing also is that I'll also tell people that I would never, I'll only offer touch and support that I can just fully give with a full heart, so that they know that they can relax into it, because I want them to know if I'm hurting or if like something's uncomfortable, I'll move. That way when they're cuddling with me, they don't have to worry about it. They can just be like, oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When you go into a session, like, I know it's hard to switch your mind sometimes from like other things and to fully be present with people. I find that if I have someone kind of messing with me in scheduling and stuff, or they're just being kind of rude or whatever, I feel myself getting aggressive and like, well, I wouldn't say aggressive, but irritated. And I'm like, that doesn't foster a good situation for cuddling with somebody. And I think consistently I've just canceled on those people, because like, it's not healthy for me to be in this mindset.
Definitely.
And the fact that I felt that way because of like a session, like trying to be coordinated, because like, you know, people have partners that don't know about cuddling that they're doing, like that's constant. And so with that said, like they get all sketchy about it and whatever, and then it's like, okay, you're irritating me. Like that's not good for you. How do you like, do you follow through with those? Are you able to still add value, or are there methods that you use to, or do you just cancel as well? Like,
gosh, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on like how resourced I'm feeling on any given day. As you know, some days you're short on patience, and other days
right.
you are like really able to take on a lot. So there's my mental state at the time. And then I'll also say if they're already pushing boundaries from the get-go during scheduling and being kind of pushy or evasive with information, then that tells me that's probably going to translate into the session. So maybe I don't want to get into that today if maybe I'm feeling a little stressed or not really able to like be solid with that person. So I guess I kind of have to look at where I'm at, where they're at, and what I think that might translate to in a session. And then I'll say I see money as energy, and so that's one of the things that, you know, I really like about being able to have a profession where I can use my skills with people and touch and be able to be compensated for that. So if it's a day that I'm feeling more resourced and more able to deal with that, then I might do a little coaching with that person when they finally do show up. And I feel like that money energy that they're able to give me allows me to then give back to them, you know, because I can take that money and I can go feed myself or go get a massage or pay my mortgage. And then I'm able to like give back to that person and kind of maybe give them a little coaching around, hey, like that didn't work out so well during scheduling. Maybe moving forward, try this or whatever they might seem receptive to. Or maybe the money energy is enough and I can just kind of like stay solid in my boundaries and let it flow.
I find when I go into a session feeling scarcity around money, I've let people push my boundaries a little more than I feel comfortable with, and by the end of it, I might be crying after I leave. So how do you handle boundary pushers?
Again, coming back to how resourced I am on that day. Well, I use the guidelines that we agreed to on Cuddle Comfort as a basis, I think, as we all should do, right? So if somebody's pushing beyond that, you know, I just keep on coming back to my body, myself, paying attention to the cues that are telling me, wow, boundaries being pushed. And just staying firm in that. You know, I kind of have like some somatic work I do around that. I use my spine and kind of like notice my spine. And
interesting.
I don't know, it's in the center of your body. And, you know, when you're standing up, that's the thing that kind of like gives you that, I don't know, forward, strong stance. So it's totally nerdy. It's like one of my little somatic body-oriented tricks is noticing my spine and just kind of like the power in my body and like coming back to me for a moment. And then getting myself grounded and resourced and then stating the boundary and just letting them know.
Cool. If someone is new to the cuddling world, which like you are new on this particular site, correct? Like, what are some things that you wish you knew getting into it, or that you found yourself asking? Like, what are some of the like questions that you had?
Well,
or do you have any current questions?
Thinking. I guess when I first got into it, I wasn't sure if it was like really a thing. Like, are there really clients out there who want this? I knew that there were clients out there who wanted the other services, you know, with the coaching and stuff that I offer, but I didn't really know if I don't know. I wasn't sure how honest the clients would be. Are they really there for cuddling, or are they wanting something more? Because reading some of the profiles, you kind of get a sense like, this person might be here for some other reason. And some of the other cuddling sites too, if you kind of look at them, it's like, I'm not so sure that this is so above board. So so I guess I'm just still getting used to, you know, I don't know, what are their clients like? Because I'm already used to other kinds of clients I've had. Other than that, I guess I feel really curious about what other cuddlers do as far as opening a session and the process that they take their clients on, because I tend to be, I come from a mental health background, so I'm used to like covering confidentiality and giving people a disclosure form and like talking, and then we begin the work. So I'm so geared that way for my work. I'm like very curious how other cuddlers will start a session. And I know when you and I did a session, it's like, come on in, let's cuddle.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so refreshing. So I'm just like curious what other people do, or how do they start a session?
So I'll give my experience, and then I've talked to some other cuddlers about their experiences and their approaches. I think it really, it's something you have to play with, because some techniques don't actually work, and you think they will.
Exactly. Every client's different, right?
Yeah. So my personal approach is I give a big hug. That's the first disarming thing to do. We're here to cuddle. Like, this is,
That's what they're there for already.
And let's get into it. This is, and I make sure it's a good old hug. Sometimes I get I get shaky, but it's like a good, happy, I mean, I'm giving you positive energy. People love hearing their name. Your name is the sweetest sound you could ever hear.
Oh.
Yeah. So when someone actually uses your name in conversation, it actually leaves a good feeling with you. So sometimes I forget to get people's names, and I feel really bad about it, or I'll forget. So I'll check my messages before they show up to be like, did they even give me their name?
Sometimes you don't get a name; you just know the profile.
Yeah. So I'll review kind of the kind of interactions we've had prior, so that I'm not getting into it and oh man, what did I say? At one point I actually kept notes, which I think I should probably do again. Was this person respectful? What did they do? Because I want them to feel important, because they are important to me. I just want to add value to their lives, and I want them to feel like they're seen. So that's good for repeat business. And then when I get into it, I used to have a spiel that was along the lines of, this is a platonic cuddle, no inappropriate requests, no inappropriate touching, no humping, no kissing. You get one warning. If I have to do two, that's the end of the session. I did a little more research on psychology and how hearing no is just not a good way to approach things. So I was like, how could I reword that? And so my newer spiel is, this is a platonic cuddle, platonic means consent to me. I have a safe word. If I say banana, that means I'm feeling uncomfortable. And it's not saying no, it's not saying you just did something bad, it's saying we need to talk. And it gives an opportunity for learning, and so it's, because people don't know, and they're always paranoid that they're going to cross a boundary, or maybe they're not, so with that said, and then if I have to do banana more than once, we probably are not, this is probably not a compatible session, and we'll need to end it. And unfortunately, if I feel like my boundaries keep getting violated, you don't get your money back. You knew the rules. Recently I talked to somebody, and they were saying if you do make it more formal, and have them sign a document, then in their mind this is now professional. I have clients that really care about me. I've had people profess their love to me, and I'm like, oh, this is sweet. I'm not going to reject them, because you can love someone really quickly. But that doesn't mean you're in love. You're maybe in lust. But love is love, and I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think we all need that love in our life anyway. Just maybe manage your expectations. And so one of the other things that the person I talked to was talk about the expectations of this. Are they looking for more? And just kind of address that and vocalize it. And then additionally, there's a idea of using a diagram of where you are okay being touched, and a lot of people don't know where that is. I talked to a different professional cuddler, and what she does is she will essentially, her tactic is if you switch position and you're doing something new, what you want to do is, you know, she'll be like, just ask, you know, and then she will test the waters with something she's still okay with, but like maybe they're like, can I touch your face? And she'll just be like, no. So that but she's okay with it, but that way she knows she can say no. Even, and she can see their reaction. Are they actually going to follow through? Also, there's no such thing as platonic kissing. It's not a thing. Please stop trying to make it a thing. No, I have been asked it a few times. I even met a male professional cuddler who was asked about platonic kissing, and I'm like, it's not a thing. No. Also, there's another tactic that has been used by a different professional cuddler that I started utilizing in my life, and it is being a cuddle enthusiast, so cuddling for no money. And it gives permission to not cuddle only for the money. And you're not going into it desperate. You can walk away from money, you know, and in a society where there's a lot of money scarcity, because I know a few people who like do sex work because they can't feed themselves. They can't pay for rent or anything, and so they have to rely on other people's money, and it's not as consensual. They're just doing it for the money, and it's a little heartbreaking, you know. And so if you can give yourself permission to walk away from boundary pushing or anything like that, you know, it's healthier. And so when I have been cuddling as an enthusiast, I felt like I got my power back. Like I don't know. So that was another technique that I found by talking to people.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, and then that way people who can't afford it also get a session, and they appreciate it more. Yeah. There is a thing where a lot of enthusiasts on the site have sex. I'm just being real. I've done a lot of, people talk, you guys. People talk. But I know people personally who have experienced it. And it's not a dating site, and it's not like, I feel like it takes away from the purpose of the cuddling site. You know?
For sure. Go on Tinder if you want to do that. It's not that hard.
Yeah, but the additional thing with that too is like, if you're gonna do it, please just like talk about it. Be adults. Yes, we're all adults. Yes, sexual attraction happens. Yes, people start dating from the site. But please do it in a way that like is taking you away from the site. Maybe next session, or not session. Remove the session. Plan a date or something.
Yeah. End the enthusiast relationship and begin a different kind of relationship. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's how I would handle it from my perspective. But
I ended up dating a client, and it was from a different site, and that's how we met, was through cuddling. We had 3 sessions or so before I was giving the kiss me eyes, and I was like, oh man, I'm not innocent in this, but and then he asked permission to kiss me, so it was like almost removing the the unspoken word. But also after that, we ended our client professional relationship, and then we started dating. So like we handled it in a way that was as mature as we could, but we definitely had chemistry and sparks and all that, and I've had that a few times. It's really easy to develop crushes. And it.
Yeah, especially when you're non-monogamous. I'm non-monogamous. I have a husband, and I have other partners, and I date, and I do all kinds of things, and I'm just kind of oriented that way. I fall in love easily. Or in crushes. It's not always love.
So many crushes. I've been traveling across the U.S., and I've got like a couple people that I'm like, okay. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
So it's. I'm just being real though. That stuff happens, and it happens a lot. But So I thought that was important to bring up.
That's interesting. If I check in with myself, I feel like I'm in a financial position where how I make my income is from people compensating me for the services I offer, for coaching, for cuddling. So I can't really afford to cuddle for free at this point. Some point down the road, if I was financially in a place I could do that, I probably would. But
yeah, I'm not in a financial place I can do it. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But I do it for my mental health, because what was happening is it was really getting to me. I'm like, I don't want to cuddle with people, and I'm going through something really hard. Like my whole life is a.
But that's actually a really good example. So you're getting something out of it instead of money, paper money. You're getting support. You're getting some emotional needs met.
Yeah,
that's different. When I think about somebody paying me for a cuddle, I'm completely oriented towards their needs.
Yeah,
I'm very focused on making sure that they get the nurturing and the comfort that they need. And I mean, I'm not asking for emotional support or anything like that. I'm asking for financial support.
Yeah.
And I'm really giving fully. It's not like a shallow putting on an act or performance kind of a thing. It really is me giving my full self.
Yeah. I pretty much, when I enter into a session, it's like, I'm going to add value to this person's life today. And also, I'm going to savor the moment. And that's like my mantra of life is savor this moment. It's on my tattoo. Like,
so cool.
And then I remind myself if I'm feeling down, I like 5 things that I feel like good about in this moment. So maybe I am hanging out with a client and I start thinking about my personal life, and then I'm like, savor this moment, and then I'm like, oh, I get cuddles and I feel like they care about me, and I just kind of bring myself back to the moment. And so it's a good mantra during a session. Cool. Awkward situations. So accidental boob graze. How do you handle stuff like that?
If it's purely just innocent and accidental, I would just move on, I haven't had anybody do it in a way that it felt like they were trying to be manipulative or get something more that I obviously didn't offer. But I don't know, I'm pretty direct. So if that were to happen, I would probably just, let them know, hey, can't touch me there, what's going on?
The other thing is accidental kissing. It's a real thing. Like, I've experienced it myself. Like, I've accidentally kissed her arm or hand or whatever, and I'm like, whoa, like, did I just do that? And I've had clients, they're like, I just kissed you? And I was like, you've done it a couple times, actually. And they were just not aware of it. You can almost tell when
you can sense it.
They're like kind of like panic, like that's when it's like accidental, and it's just like, I get it. Please, be aware now. Kind of addressing it, because I think that's very important.
How somebody reacts, because if they minimize it, that tells you there's something a little more shady going on. But if they have a genuine reaction of remorse or embarrassment or whatever, then you're probably on the right track. I think.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Or they're a really good liar.
Let's see. Is there a way that you help the client, maybe their partner doesn't know? Like, do you advise them on maybe like ways they can communicate that to their partner or anything, or you just don't breach that subject and then?
It depends on if they want to talk about it. I mean, if they want to talk about it, then I would certainly kind of brainstorm with them and try to help them, notice what they're feeling about it and really listen to the full situation. But
what is your opinion on people who have partners that are unaware of their cuddling?
I mean, I think it's from my personal feelings about it, or I think it's unfortunate and sad, because I know how awesome it is when you're
when you're open, it's easy to talk about this, and you just have great communication, there's flow, and it's all accepted, but then it's like monogamous, you can see the pain, you can see the need, you can see the hurt of not getting that need met.
I also just deeply respect where people are at. And I can think of so many clients where there was some reason in the relationship where there was no longer any kind of physical intimacy, whether their partner has become kind of mental illness that's impairing, or some kind of chronic pain issue, or, the list goes on. There's all kinds of reasons why couples lose their intimacy in a relationship. And so who am I to say, hey, you need to fix this, or you need to tell your partner. They might have a home and cars and children and shared assets together. I mean, they've built a life together, and like, I don't know what that's like to be in that situation where suddenly I have a choice of completely unraveling my whole life in order to get some intimacy needs met, when like I just don't, I don't know what that's like for them. So I just really respect that they've found a way to get those needs met in a way that works for them. And
I personally, like, I'm glad they found touch, because it is so healthy for your mental health, your physical health. It's just overall good health benefits. It breaks my heart for them that they can't have that open, honest communication.
Definitely.
I mean, if it was up to me, I'd be like, here's some information just in case you want to. But, I feel like the couples that are at the point that they can't communicate that they need that.
It's gone way too far. Yeah, definitely.
And I know how hard it is to leave, all of that behind because you're not getting that one need met, which is why,
And there might be all kinds of other things that do work in that relationship. And again, like, I don't know. I'm not in that relationship.
We don't know. The only time I find it awkward is like when they're literally lying to their partner and I'm right there. Like messaging them or calling them, which has happened.
Interesting.
And then I'm just sitting there, I'm glad that I'm there for them, but it's also like I feel like an accessory to something. And I'm like, as long as no one comes at me like mad that I'm the cuddler they chose, like but I do like their honesty towards me, and they're like, hey, and honestly, married guys are the most freaking respectful people. Like, they don't cross the boundaries with me, and I love that. Yeah.
So you notice that it's more single folks who tend to cross boundaries, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's why they're single.
Yeah.
Can't respect boundaries. Sorry.
That's okay. I think it's kind of this whole thing of like, they don't want to hurt their partner, and they really don't want to cheat on their partner. Yet, like, okay, well, what is commitment to you? What does commitment even mean to you? And I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance with those people. And so they have competing beliefs, cognitive dissonance, and because they desire, touch, but they desire to be committed. And there's that, especially with religious people. I've met some people who were very religious, and they were like, I can't take away intimacy from my partner because, if I cuddle with other people. But then I'm like, well, was that your experience? And they're like, I can't answer this. It's like, oh, honey, I hope you figure it out, because I think it's important to communicate. But I feel like religions like Christianity, it's like, you gotta be faithful. And it's like, well, what is faithful? So having those kind of conversations, because I read in a book, it was like, well, what's your definition of sex? That changes for people.
Totally.
What is cheating to people?
What is monogamy?
Yeah. What is monogamy? Is it like if you hold someone else's hand, is that cheating?
If you watch porn?
Yeah. So
some people consider that cheating, which blows my mind. But
but porn. Porn.
Oh my God, do we disagree?
No, I love porn.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, you were saying it like what's the big deal? Or?
Yeah. No, what's the big deal?
I don't
about
get that one.
Yeah.
No, people consider that cheating.
Yeah.
Like breakup reason, like you watch porn, you cheated on me and breaking up now.
Yeah.
I can't understand it.
Yeah. So like have that conversation with your partner. Yeah. Like figure out, because like some people's sex is penetration, yet other people's sex is oral. Like so. We gotta have these conversations, guys.
Yeah. Well, and we all, I think, tend to get in. Well, not you and me, because we're polyamorous and we're awesome. No, kidding. But I think that most people, I think this would be fair to say, most people get into relationships without having conversations like that. Like there was no opt-in to your definition of monogamy, or to how much time we spend together. Like there's no conversations, or there tends not to be in our culture, I think, about like, this is what I'm agreeing to be in a relationship with you. Yeah, so it's good to do. I mean, I do a lot of that. When I let people know I don't have a lot of time. If you want to date me, you're gonna maybe get like 2 hours out of me each week.
Yeah. And I'm really bad at messaging people back, please.
Yep, I let people know that too. Don't take offense. I'm probably gonna take a week to get back to you, and
yeah, maintaining my friendships. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. If you need to reach out to me, like I will try to. I don't want it to be a one-way street. I do, but if you feel like I've dropped the ball and you're expecting more from me, like, let's have that conversation. Because I have had a friend, she's like, I feel like I'm trying really hard in this relationship, in this friendship, and I feel like you aren't. And I'm like, but I love you, and I've been friends with you for so long. Like, do better.
Yeah. But if you had that agreement from the get-go, like, hey, like, you signed up for this, maybe we need to renegotiate it or whatever.
Yeah.
But all those things have kind of apply to the cuddling relationship too, because we're agreeing we're here for a platonic reason.
There's so many parallels.
Session, you know, like we have all these things that we agreed to before we do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the best parts of dating, where you're not like, you're learning how to be consensual, you're learning how to have conversations or just be there for that person, be present, and it's like without all the drama. Unless you keep cuddling them and then the drama like happens, that happens too. And people can be judgy. Like, I have parts of my life that people don't agree with, people are gonna talk, and I'm not in it. Nobody's perfect, guys. But I think that's another thing that happens with the cuddling world, is everyone feels like something's missing in their life, and they're able to get that, but maybe they feel shame over needing that, and there's nothing shameful about reaching out for a need.
Yeah. That comes back to attachment. Somewhere along the road, early growing up, somebody shamed them for a need.
Yeah.
Or how many times have you been on the playground and you hear, a little kid gets hurt, runs up to mommy, and she shoves him away. You're fine.
Yeah.
That's how that stuff happens. You hear that enough times, and you're not going to come forth with your needs. You're not going to come to your partner saying, I'm hurting right now, I need support.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how these things happen. We grow up and have those experiences, and then we deny our needs because we don't want to get hurt in that way again, to be told you're fine or whatever it is.
Also, non-violent communication, look into it.
Yes, I endorse it too.
I have not been as ideal at it as I would like to be, because I went to college for like a year towards a bachelor in psychology, and I dropped out. I didn't want to do any of the homework. I didn't want to study with it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I learned a lot when I went, and one of the things they talked about was just communicating and like having those actual like practice conversations and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is wonderful. And then over the years, I kind of forgot about it. And then and like as I'm meeting new people, I'm like, oh, I should practice this more anyway.
It's powerful.
Repeating back like what they're saying to you to make sure you heard them, stuff like that. I think there's a lot of benefit to that.
Definitely.
So what are some of your techniques to make someone feel love and connection, or just like, what are some of your techniques?
There's a few things. There's stuff that I do before a session where I kind of try to picture the person as a child, and I do this kind of in all my interactions before I'm gonna like have a meeting, or before I'm gonna have a difficult conversation, or whatever it might be. I kind of just like casually, not formally, but just kind of like meditate on that person, think about that person, and just kind of like try to almost picture them, if I can, in my mind's eye, of them being just a little one, because we all have a little one within us, right? Who's hurt or disappointed or, had trauma or whatever it is. So I kind of like try to hold that with me, meditate on it, feel how we all have that within us. And then when they get there, I'm already in that headspace. Like I'm in this very nurturing headspace of wanting, like, even if somebody's been a pain in the ass during the appointment process or whatever, like still, we were all kids once. Like, how precious is that? So kind of getting into that headspace, and then being really just clear with some of the things I go over as far as boundaries up front, because I feel like that, getting that out of the way and being really clear on it allows us to just relax and enjoy our time together.
Like what kind of physical things do you do?
Oh yeah, physical things. Well,
And if you need to use me as an example, that's fine. I won't say no.
That's funny. Well, one of the things I really like starting out in a position where I'm like we're in bed, I'm leaning up against the wall, and my legs are kind of open. And then I don't think we can do it the way we are right now, but essentially you would like lean back into me and I would kind of like cradle you like this. And the reason I really like starting this position, if the person's open to it, is that it's really a feeling of support. Like being able to lean back into somebody physically and be held that way is a very supportive feeling. And that, for me, sets the tone for the session. Like, I'm here to support you, lean into me. It's also a really good assessment, because a lot of people, when you do that, you'll feel them, like, kind of holding their weight up a little bit. And that's an opportunity for me to teach them that it's okay to just, like, fall and, like, relax into me.
None of this.
No, I love that. So for me, I want people to, like, feel that I'm calm and I'm relaxed and that it's okay for them to relax into me.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is like getting my body in a resourced, calm place.
I have to like deep breathe sometimes if I notice I'm getting tense over something. I'm like, But I do it loud enough that they can hear it too, and that they take the cue. And you can feel them do it or hear them do it, and it's just like, okay, I'm so glad. One of my favorite things to do, can I see her, is just kind of like with the back of my hand, just kind of caress and just kind of, and on the inside. I read this book forever ago that was 101 foreplay tips or whatever.
Oh, I need that book.
And it was very insightful of how to like activate like just the feels, you know, and you can feel just connected, and there's a energy shift that I can't cross, because there's platonic energy, there's like, you know, caring, loving, and then there's sexual energy, and just you gotta like consciously be like, no, I'm not gonna access that sexual energy, because sometimes
because it comes up. We are human after all.
Yes, very human. So what are some other your techniques?
In my coaching work, I educate people a lot about like the dynamics of giving and receiving, and essentially we nerd out on like how can we get you to receive even more deeply, and there's also this dynamic of taking and allowing. So it's like how do you like to be touched, right? Yeah.
Was that the intro to it?
Yeah. So teaching people like how do they listen into their body more deeply and figure out like what it is that they really want in the moment, rather than coming from the head, the thinky place. I want it to come from the body. So I teach them how to do that. And then also the taking and allowing dynamic, which is essentially, let's say right now, like I really wanted to touch your hair because that would just be like really nice for me to touch. That's another giving dynamic that we don't talk a lot about, where I'm doing something to you for my enjoyment, like not for you because it would feel good for your hair, but then you might be able to check in with yourself and be like, God, I really love having my hair played with.
I love really my hair. Like, please.
So as long as it's something that you could give fully, then we can both benefit from it. But it's a little bit different, because you tend to think about receiving as like receiving a massage or receiving like a scalp massage or whatever, but the taking is more like, I'm going to touch you for my enjoyment. I teach people about that too.
I like to joke that, you think this is for you,
right?
I'm enjoying this.
Well, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
It can be good for both people. So,
So my tips on playing with hair, don't just rough it up. I mean, unless that's what they're into, you know, but I just
like, ask, right?
Yes. Also, like slow, maybe with your nails, like kind of, and then maybe pulling it out. But if you think about it, we have little, like, every hair is attached to one place. So if you slightly pull on it and not like rip someone's hair out, you know, like they feel that. And if you do it in a slight circle, they feel that, and they feel their scalp like moving, and it's just, that felt good. Play with my own hair is
I'm
fun.
just gonna play with your hair later if you're okay with it.
Yes.
Okay.
And then some people, they only touch lower, and that's fine, but it's like if you get to the scalp and you're not like scratching their skin off or anything. Like, it really was my tips.
Well, and that would be different for everyone. So like part of what I start to, after we do the giving and receiving, taking and allowing, then we start doing the bossy massage, which is I touch you for a little while the way you want to be touched, but then you got to tell me, like, how do you want it touched? So people learn how to, like, okay, well, maybe not at the ends, but can you actually touch my scalp, and can you do it this way? And so then they coach me on how to do it, and then I step away, and then they have to, like, check in with their body again, and then ask again, what do they want next? And so they have to do a lot of practicing of asking for what they want.
Yeah.
And so, because I want the people that I cuddle with to be able to ask for what they want. I don't want them to just, like, go through a mediocre experience. I want them to be able to be empowered and advocate for themselves, because I'm not a mind reader. I can use my intuition the best I can, but you need to tell me what you want.
I think some important things to make sure you ask about, like, can I touch your face?
Yes.
Can I touch your ear, your neck? You know, some people are okay with kisses on their forehead. They are. I'm not, because, like, I've had people get, like, a shift in their energy during that time, and I'm like, nah, I'll just, and I know it's more of a nurturing, like, caring, and, like, just, like, feel that connection, and that's fine, but for personal boundaries, I don't want that, and so I don't mind vocalizing that no kissing, including, you know, my forehead. It's accidentally happened, you know, that's fine, and I can tell when they're kind of, like, they want to, and they're just, like, hovering, and they just, like, are like, oh, so that happens. But also touching of the face. Do not do this to a person, in my opinion. Like, it's happened to me more than once.
Wait, just like this?
Well, they just have their hand in my face, and I'm like, this is not
so
enjoyable
odd
for me. Like, back of the hand, caress, like, maybe right here, or just kind of, like, outline their face or something. I find that just, like, light, gentle touching. I think some people just, you know, it's a learnable skill, and we all think we know what we're doing. Learn, ask.
Yes, ask questions. How does this feel? Do you need it soft or slow or hard or faster? You know, all those different defining words. I personally love playing with chest hair when I'm cuddling with people. So I'm okay with a guy without a shirt kind of thing. But I know some people, like, I talked to somebody and they felt like just touching under their shirt on their lower back was a violation. I'm like, ooh. So there's a big difference in that. And so you really, you know, that can even be a boundary violation, you know, but maybe they would have been okay with it if they felt like they had the availability to consent to it, you know, maybe they would be okay with it. So I found that interesting, that, like, it could be as simple as that. And I like giving massages too on their back. You're really good at it.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it, and it's good for me. I feel like when I'm giving someone a massage, I imagine it in my own body, and then I just get my own massage while I'm doing it. It's wonderful. So when I can feel like I've released some tension in them, I feel like I've released tension in myself, and it's just like this whole weird mind game. I don't think that's common, but that's okay.
That's interesting, though. I like that.
Our imagination can do a lot of stuff. Neuroplasticity, that's another thing people should look into. It's wonderful. But yeah, so let's see. Leg touching. How, like, where do you feel like there's a line of, like, it's crossing, you know, stuff like that?
For me, I'm really comfortable in my body and, like, very body aware. And for me personally, it's not really like an erotic zone. For some people, their thighs and their legs can feel very sensual. For me, it's not. So, I tend not to think so much about, like, the body part other than the obvious, like, genitals, butt, and boobs. But, like, I think more about, like, the energy, like how you've talked about sexual energy has a much different charge or experience, and I can really feel it when it comes up. So for me, legs aren't really an area that's a problem with, although somebody might touch my legs and then feel aroused, and then the energy might shift, and then I might need to redirect. So
so tell me about redirecting.
Well, You can certainly switch positions or verbalize, hey, like, seems like things are getting a little arousing.
Yeah.
How are you doing? So, like, kind of bringing it into the intellectual and out of the body for a moment.
Yeah.
Talking about it.
Sometimes I just go pee. I'm like, hey,
There you go.
I gotta go pee. Thank you for your patience.
See, this is the intimacy nerd in me. I want to bring attention to it, and I want to have like a moment of like really facing it.
Because I know a lot of people are like guys. Unwanted arousal is a thing. Like they don't want sex, and maybe a woman will feel it. This comes up often in my research that guys get aroused. They don't want sex. They want the platonic cuddle, and they were with an enthusiast, and things moved farther than they wanted to. I had a person who had cuddled with a couple enthusiasts that turned sexual, and they were just happy that I was being platonic. And it's just like, good, but also maybe learn how to not have sex if that's not what you want. Like,
right.
Maybe like it's just like, how do you redirect that? And I think it's just a conscious decision not to switch to sexual energy, and that like recognize when you do it. I think that's important too.
Yeah. And that's what we agreed to. We agreed that it wouldn't go there. So, you know.
Let's stick to it. I know in the moment it feels like it's changed, but it's like, let's remind ourselves what's happening. And tell yourself, like, before you go into a session, sometimes I'm just like, can I walk away? And I have that conscious talk with myself, like, you know, I'm doing this platonically, and if, like, say it's with someone I have a crush on, happens, and I'm like, could I walk away if I needed to, you know? And I have to give myself permission to walk away, because that's not what I want, but based on my morals and values, I might have to. And then it's like, where is that line crossing? And sometimes it's gray. So.
Well, I think we're just indoctrinated culturally with messages about, if you're aroused, then it should move to sex. So I think a lot of us are just...
It's a biological response. It's not necessarily a logical response.
Well, and men are so taught that if you're with a woman and you're close, there should be sex happening. That's what makes you a man, right? So there's all kinds. I feel like there's so many cultural layers to this.
Oh, for sure.
And so then being able to come back to the agreement is like really cool on so many different levels, because you can get your comfort needs met, and you can kind of rewire your brain, neuroplasticity, that hey, like, manliness does not equate to
sex,
it turning into sex. I can get my nurturing needs met. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Intimacy is just something I feel like our culture hasn't really talked about, and it's hard because we need it. Like, there's those, it's pretty common, but there was this study done of monkeys. Like, it was kind of a inhumane study, but essentially it was like a wire monkey with food feeding a baby versus a fluffy thing with no food, and the baby monkey would choose the comfort over the food, and like some of the babies like died, and they would rather the comfort than food, and that's just crazy to me. And I feel like in humans it's the same thing. It's
absolutely.
Like, you know, we need it, and to have so much social stigma on like needing the intimacy, but you can't get it in your own partnership. It's like, well, then you're shamed for it, and it's just this whole downward spiral. You should be able to seek out that comfort, and I feel like why should it be all or nothing? A violation of your relationship is almost inevitable.
Oh yeah.
In one way or another, and it's like, why should one cheating, you know? Okay, so I watched this video one time, and it was this guy who's giving advice. He's gay, and he's giving straight people advice on sex or whatever, and he's like, okay, so if you have a house, kids, and like your entire life and social network with this one person, and you got a blowjob from this guy, or you know,
yes,
does that, like, how does that weigh out? You know, and people believe all of this because of that happening.
I know, it's nuts. Why?
Okay. Or, you know, your wife has sex with your brother on your wedding day, and, you know, and you feel cheated on. Okay, there's a difference. It's weighted differently. You should probably not be with the person cheating on you with your brother on your wedding day, but maybe a blowjob from this other person is not, you know, so perspective. One sexual act because you felt horny one day should not be the ends to a relationship, you know. Or maybe you were flirting with somebody and you really enjoyed that. Like, is that cheating? It's
I know. Or you could just be polyamorous and cuddle and have sex with all the people you want, and there's so much in this world that we have access to, and
monogamy is one template for life. It is not the only template for life.
I feel like we're spokespeople for non-monogamy.
Polyamory or non-monogamy is definitely very parallel to cuddling, though, and to not address that is, you know, but I've had clients who, like, they just have multiple cuddlers and they just love it, and well, you're kind of seeing a bunch of people, you know.
I feel like if you've ever cheated, you're polyamorous. That means you cared about one person while also caring about another. I don't know. Yeah. I tend to think of it that way. And I don't know, I think about all the people that I've been able to be intimate with, and whether it's cuddling or a more sexual relationship, but I've had so many profound healing experiences with all these people that I never would have had I remained monogamous to just my husband. Like, that blows my mind.
Yeah. Also, that conversation to open up a relationship, I don't know if you've ever, like, been with someone during that conversation that it was monogamy to polyamory.
I went from monogamy to polyamory. Yeah. It wasn't a nice linear progression. There's some ups and downs.
You've got to date your own species, though. If someone is completely monogamous mindset and they are not willing to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No.
So my ex-husband, like, he was very monogamous mindset. He was okay, like, opening it up because he got to experience some stuff that he wouldn't have. But overall, he didn't have the skills to handle the emotions. And shoot, I don't have all the skills either, and I've been doing it for once.
We're not perfect.
Again, learnable skills, but it's also, you know, healthy communication. You know, sometimes you don't know how to have that, and it's just all this build up. And we lie to ourselves a lot too, and I think that has a lot to do with it, because your emotional brain's like, I am not okay with this, but your logical brain's like, no, actually I am okay with this, and it's like this.
I've had that before. It's really frustrating when your logical brain can't override the emotional brain.
I'm dealing with that a lot recently, actually. So I'm still in the process of being okay with that, but so.
And you can always go back to monogamy. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
I know, right? Me either.
But you could. I mean, it's not like you have to be the same thing forever.
Yeah. Because, I don't, for me, like, wanting to travel, like, I get into some fun adventures that, you know, monogamous people can't get into. And I'm just like, you know, but I don't want to have sex with everyone, you know, like, my boundary is not, like, I don't want intercourse with these people, but I might make out with somebody, you know, that's fun. And it's just like, enjoy it, savor it. And then, you know, like, I treasure my time with you. You know, I might not have, maybe I never see you again, but this moment was special, and I made it as beautiful as I could, you know, and did the best I could to add value. And I think too many people don't get that, and when they're, like, living in an unhealthy relationship or whatever, you know, they forget to treasure that person. I think that happens. Yeah. Right?
And, like, who wants to not be treasured? I want to be treasured. I don't want
you deserve to be treasured.
I just partner no longer treasured me, I wouldn't want them to be with me. I'd want them to, I don't know. We should all treasure one another. And if treasuring is no longer happening, we need to either figure out how to get it back or, move on.
There was something in a book called More Than Two, and what it was what is a successful relationship? Is it being with someone till death do you part and it's a miserable experience? Is that a successful relationship? Mm-hmm. Or is it you guys treasured each other and maybe it was only like for 4 months,
Totally.
But it was amazing,
mm-hmm.
those 4 months. Is that a successful relationship, or is till death do you part?
Yeah.
And
yeah. Our culture has something to say about that.
Yeah. How familiar are you with new relationship energy?
Very familiar. Yeah. I've had it a lot.
So do you want to define what it is, or do you want me to, or?
I'll do my best and you can add to it. Okay. But basically when you meet somebody new and you're having all these falling in love feelings or whatever, you get there's actually like a chemical reaction that's happening. Yeah. You probably know the chemicals. I don't off the top of my head. I think probably some oxytocin and dopamine and kind of a cocktail of things are coursing throughout your body. And
you're on drugs. You're essentially on drugs.
It's nuts.
They have done tests.
I can feel it right
now.
Just
right?
Thinking about
the flutter.
Yeah, I've had it a few times.
So they've done studies that last up to 2 years. Up to, and if you don't develop the skills for a relationship within that time, you're probably going to fall apart after 2 years. And so don't get married until that. At least 2 years, guys. At least, whatever. You can do whatever you want. It's your life. Do it in 1 week if you really want to, but learn those skills.
Because it clouds your judgment, sort of the same way that a drug would.
Yeah, and you're making decisions based on this, like, drug high, and then you're just like, maybe you moved in with somebody who does really have a drug problem and you just didn't realize it, and
or leaves their socks on the fucking floor. What's with the socks on the floor? Put them in the hamper.
It's small things too. Yeah, it's like you ignore the irritations, you ignore the things that get to you, and after 2 years, it's built up, and you're like, this is really agitating. Can I communicate that I want you to put the socks away, I think that was a good touch on that. So 5 love languages. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that relates to cuddling a lot as well.
Definitely.
I'll just go over quickly what they are. So, or what it is. We express love and receive love in different ways. And there is a book called 5 Love Languages. And so it is physical touch, gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, and quality time. I find that the majority of my clients are physical touch and quality time, and their partners maybe are acts of service and gifts, and they just aren't getting their needs met. So I gave a speech one time somewhere. It was horrible, but I was able to learn it. In your experience with 5 love languages, how do you feel like that helps you out? Or
in my personal relationships, or in cuddling?
Cuddling, or just maybe. Do you find that they also have physical touch and quality time? Or?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah. I would definitely say that, and it's helpful to know that, because some people have a few of them too. Is the other thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm thinking of the acts of service thing too, because for me, being a professional cuddler, I am serving somebody. I'm using my body and my kind of skills and know-how to serve them in whatever way they need. So I guess I kind of see a little tinge of that in there too. I don't know, just something that comes up.
So the more that you have your love language spoken to you, the more your love tank fills, and so when someone's hurting you or saying something cruel, or maybe not lifting you up with words that are positive and oh, you're doing a great job, and they're like, why are you doing that? And so it pulls out of your love tank, and when your love tank gets empty, you guys are probably fighting. Let's be honest. So I feel like we are able to fill people's love tanks for them, even though it's not through their partner. I feel like it's kind of like a life tank, that they're finally getting this need met that the partner can't fill. And again, benefits to open relationships. You can get that from other people, and you're not dependent on one person for that.
Yeah, because no one person can fulfill all of your needs. We have way too many needs as human beings.
Well, the other thing is too, do you need someone in order to feel loved? Or do you want to just add value to their life? You know, like what is that dynamic too? I think that's important in a relationship. Well, thank you for joining me on my first interview for Cuddling. I am traveling all across the United States, and I'm going to interview people and cuddle people, and also provide free art in the park when I have that available. If you have community service you want me to join you in, I love meeting the community, and I find that adds value to my life, and I feel like I'm not as homesick. So, you know, please like and subscribe. Thank you again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's such a treat. I'm gonna hide. Oh, so good.
She's the best ever cuddler, so definitely hire her.